Hello to all you UBI enthusiasts. It is time for our monthly community event. We have Marcel,
Hiya.
and my name is Daniela. This month, one topic that's been on my heart to talk about is inheritance. How much is down to your own work versus what you were given? Um, The reason why that is a topic I want to bring up is because UBI, the Universal Basic Income, would be a monthly payment into your account without any strings attached. This is in some ways very similar to a child or an adolescent being given pocket money by their parents. Did you get any? I didn't. And it's not only like pocket money. Furthermore, it's very much similar to Donald Trump being given 400,000 as a starter loan from his father. Is that something you were given as well? Because I wasn't. And that led me then to think about, well, inheritance as well. A lot of people get money when the parents or grandparents pass away, and that often helps people sustain their lifestyle. And for one, I'm thinking about the royal family. It doesn't matter if you think about the Netherlands or the UK being a prime example, or any of the other nations that still have royalty. It is inherited. Well, what makes them so special to inherit the role of a king or a queen? Why not just pick somebody randomly off the street and make them king or queen for a day or a week or a month? Why? That's all I'm trying to get you to think about. Why is it that some people inherit something without doing anything? After all, currently Prince William, what has he done to deserve being a prince? He did not help his birth. Yes, he was there, but he didn't fully participate, I would suggest. And it's the same with money being given to people. There are lots of, well, not that many. There's some people being given money by the parents that gives them an easier start, and they then have so much more opportunities than anyone else out there. And if that's the case for the few, why not try and have that for everyone? Why not try and have that for all of us? I, for one, would be very happy and appreciate being given money on a regular basis. What about you? What about you, Marcel?
I think it's an interesting question because I've spoken to someone recently who was opposed to a UBI because they've done a lot of work and they don't think they should be contributing towards somebody else's laziness, as they call it. And it's more about them wanting to give their money to their children, and they want their children to have the best life. And they've worked very hard, and they want to be able to keep their money and give the money to their children, not just with inheritance, but also, the money that they earn and they work hard for, to be able to give it to, choose who they give it to. They don't want to be able to. It should just go to everyone. It should only go to the people they choose for it to go to. And I think that is the broader question here. Is a UBI means that the money gets shared equally amongst everybody, and people don't get to choose. And I think a lot of politics is around that question. It's not just the UBI; it's also
Mhm.
people saying that rich people, because that's definitely what it boils down to, who have more money, who have access to more resources, should get to decide how the money is spent more so than poor people. It's who gets to decide where the money goes. And if you talk about people saying, well, taxation just goes to the government, ultimately it's the people within the government that then decide who the money goes to. There's still somebody who has bigger say as to where the money goes. And I can understand the argument against wanting to give it to a bureaucrat to decide where the money goes, as opposed to somebody who's worked hard for their money, apparently, rich people aside and inheritance aside, deciding where they want their money to go. And they don't want to pay more taxes because they want to decide where that they spend their money and how they spend their money. So it's that bigger question about who gets to decide where the resources that we have on this planet gets spent. And the big problem with the whole taxation aspect is that yes, it's the bureaucrats that get to decide how the money is spent. Whereas with the UBI, we're ultimately giving the choice to everyone.
Mhm.
So you get some money, then you can decide how you want to spend it. And I think that again, looking at it from the other's perspective, where people say, oh, they think it should be spent, people should be given food stamps or whatever, so that they can only spend the money on food, so the money doesn't get spent on drugs and things like that. Is the other aspect, the other side to that same coin, is that you don't want individuals to decide how the money is spent. So people are arguing from both aspects. They want to decide how their money is spent, but they want to also dictate how other people spend their money. And it basically boils down to the bigger question as to, when people have a lot of money, when they die, they want to decide where that money goes. And they want that money to go to their children. And when you actually interview people who come from a long line of aristocracy, but they are pretty much broke now. They don't have much. They've got the castle and things like that, and they're struggling to make repairs. And there was actually a reality TV show in the UK about this, you know, aristocratic family, right, that couldn't afford to maintain their own, castle, and it was falling apart. But they didn't go out and get jobs and things like that because they were aristocrats. They don't do that. They don't work. They're trying to get, people, poor people, basically, to pay charity, right, to help them repair their castle. And when they were asked whether they think they deserved the castle, obviously yes. There wasn't a question of a doubt. They just think they deserve the position they're in. They deserve the aristocracy and the role and the title and everything. And it's that question as well, where the people that inherit the wealth also think they deserve it, yeah, despite the fact they haven't done anything for it. And then you get the line of questioning saying, "Well, I don't want people to, you know, lazy people to get money, but it's okay for rich people who are also lazy to get money." And I think
Mm.
that's the interesting aspect to think about when you're talking to people in general, as to who gets to decide how the money is spent, and why is it that only rich people get to decide how their money is spent.
I completely agree. So, if you're watching this, let us know. Put it in the comments down below. What do you think? Who should decide what gets spent and how it gets spent? And do you want to decide for other people as well, or do you just want to decide for yourself? We'd love to hear from you and know what you think about it.
Yeah, and I think everybody ultimately wants to be the decision maker. It's just interesting as to, you know who the same people think that other people shouldn't be allowed to make decisions. And ultimately, when we're saying, that inheritance, shouldn't apply, we're basically saying they shouldn't be allowed to make decisions. So that's it's an interesting topic as to, where the money goes and how the money, gets shared, and how resources in general get shared and allocated going forward.
True, very true. So let us know. Um, we'll make sure that we summarize everything that comes through and put it all out there. Um, this is all I had for this week from me. Do you have anything else, Marcel?
No, I think it's like you said, it's the inheritance and the decision making that, a recent conversation I had. It's the usual, lazy people don't deserve a UBI. But my question is, why do rich lazy people deserves their money? And I think that's very much tied into the same concept and the same question.
Okay, thanks so much. The reason I'm rushing is I can see that my laptop is running out of power, and before it disappears completely, I'm afraid I will have to say goodbye. So, goodbye from me. I hope you have a good month. I hope you're enjoying winter in the southern hemisphere and summer in the northern hemisphere. And I will see you on the first Tuesday in August at 4 o'clock in the afternoon UTC. See you then. Bye bye.
Bye.